afternoon, as part of the SIS education series, we're going to be talking about flexible billings for projects. So before we get into the meat of the webinar, let's talk a little bit about SIS. SIS delivers business solutions that help project and service-driven companies unify your business applications, thus delivering better visibility throughout the enterprise. We have been around since 1996. Our headquarters are in Greater Atlanta. We are award-winning Microsoft Gold certified partner with several Partner of the Year awards. We have over 20 years of services using Dynamics SL/Solomon customers. We also have a dedicated support and customer care team, and we're a very experienced partner, consulting, development. We're a full 100% shop for Dynamics SL. We can handle just about everything that you could possibly think of regarding Dynamics SL. We specialize in project-based industries, construction, general contracting, specialty contractors, EAC, government contractors, energy, oil and gas, et cetera, et cetera. We also have a few more education series coming. On May 16th, we're going to have a Dynamics 365, talking about the new product coming out from Microsoft, labeled Dynamics 365, 100% cloud-based. That'll be on May 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern. And then 2 days later, we're also going to have another Dynamics SL webinar talking about the Power BI dashboard technology that just got released in the CU2 just a month or two ago. So we are happy to have you here during our current webinar, and we look forward to having you on our future ones. I'm going to go ahead and turn this now over to our presenter, Daniel Knight. He's one of our solution architects. He's been around a long time. He's been working with Dynamics SL since 1992. He's done over 40 complete Dynamics SL implementations, and he specializes in our project modules. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Daniel. You there?
Yes. Thank you very much, Tim.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. As you know, today's topic is flexible billings, one of my personal favorite modules. Today we're going to be covering, two primary billing apparati. One is the T&M invoicing and how we can automate it using a multi-level rate table as well as Allocator. Then we're going to go through the AIA construction billing entry and the way to best configure that. And then we're going to wrap up with the EAC Revision Maintenance, which is also tied to your percent complete contracts as far as managing the budgets as well as full revenue recognition at the end of the project. So first, let's go ahead and start with our automated T&M. Some of the primary benefits, obviously, it's automated from your invoice project cost detail. It's automated pricing via flexible rate tables, unbilled revenue posting at time of service, which is optional, or it could be posted at the time of allocation. Tracking write-downs and write-offs, earned versus billed. Most of the times, obviously, you're going to be a T&M contract house, cost plus contract house, which obviously would cover government contracting. We also have a project invoice and markup process being done manually. This would obviously, save many hours of headache there. And also having the T&M revenue posted at the time of service, which is obviously ahead of billing. From that point, what I'm going to do is go ahead and jump into our demonstration environment. I'm going to start walking you through some of the screens and some of the general setups that need to be done to allow you to automate your T&M billing. First and foremost, I'm going to jump into the project maintenance screen. And in the project maintenance screen, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but just point out a few things that are important. Obviously, one of the things is you want to designate as a contract type of time and material. You want the allocation method of time and material. And you also need to designate a rate table ID. This rate table ID is the multi-level rate table. So you have to have the system know which rate table the system should go for this particular project. Then you also want to go into billing information, that which you can get to right from the screen. And then in here, obviously, this is your project bill with capabilities. Then you have to pick your invoice format. Once again, your billing rule, you're going to want to select T&M, okay, and the billing cycle, billing type, standard versus, bill by task, and then whether or not you want approval by the project manager. So those are just some of the basic setups. So as you can see, we have everything designed to where, if it's a T&M project, it's, T&M coded throughout. Okay. So when we get over into flexible billings, we have, our maintenance screens, which is billing information, invoice format, and billing rules. Then we have our input screens, our processes, and our inquiries, as well as our reports. Right now, I'd rather jump over into Allocator, because this is really the bones of the process. This is how it gets done. It's a multi-level rate table, though the reason it's called that way is because 3 different factors allow you to combine a matrix that allows you to have multiple ways to bill the very same project, the very same labor class, and such. So first we need to classify the different elements that we will bill on. Oops, wrong one. And that's going to be your rate type definition. Okay, so these are the different aspects that you are potentially going to be able to bill for, or that you've had contract that you can bill for. Okay, we have labor billing rates, we have material markups, we have material rates, we have per diem, unit price, expenses, whether they be marked up or passed through. So these are the different, classifications or activities, or however you want to put it, that will then, allow us to set a billing rate for any one of these items. Okay. Another primary component is going to be the allocation key definition. Okay. Now this one's a little bit different, and let me explain. When you're building the multi-level rate table, the system allows you to pull information from a wide variety of areas that you can then bring into the multi-level rate table, and then you can assign a billing rate based on that parameter or filter, if you will. Okay, so in here I have the select labor class, a common, everyday kind of filter or parameter that you may bill on. In here, I have a choice of many different things. What kind of my edit mask? Do I want a code type, a field class, values, or no validation whatsoever? Well, code type, okay, and most of you should be somewhat familiar, is the code file, okay? Which has got your labor classes, your employee pay types, your prevailing wage, okay? So in there, this is going to be a validated table. So when you go to use a labor class, it has to exist in this table for it to be, a labor class that you can actually invoice on. Okay, field class is a little bit different. Field class is coming from a variety of different sources. Don't want to get too far into the weeds on this, but let's say that it's coming either from the inventory ID or the cust ID or some other feature inside the system. Values, you can have a set of, typically you don't want to exceed 3 values, but they will be validated values. So if I was to come in here and say widgets, okay, and balls, okay, and one more, those would be the 3 choices I had when I went to create my multi-level rate table, okay? And then of course there's no validation at all. We're going to come back here and put our LABC back in there. Another aspect to this, okay, is the data source. As you can see, there's many different fields that we can choose for as far as the data source as to where to pull the data. So this is really probably one of the more misunderstood parts of the multi-level rate table. So when you take your rate type definition, okay, so we're saying that, you know, the rate type definition is, you know, labor, okay, choose the one I created, labor billing rates demo, okay. So this is going to be, you know, the upper tier. This is going to be down into the multi-level rate table, which I'll demonstrate in just a moment. Then we have the allocation rate table definition, and that is going to be right here, okay? So in this rate table definition, this is where you put your filters in, okay? This is where you're starting to see the labor class, projects, labor class, earnings type. The way the system works is it filters starting at the top and filters its way down. So your most finite, you know, situation, like you have one particular project with, you know, labor class and earning type as a billing parameter for that particular project. Well, you can set that up in here, and anytime Allocator, which I'll get to in a moment, anytime Allocator sees that project, that labor class, that earning type, it will then apply the billing rate that we associate with it. Say, for example, in this particular project, we're allowed to charge $100 an hour for a project manager, when maybe we only normally charge $85, or maybe we normally charge $115, but it was negotiated at $100 an hour for regular time, and negotiated for $125 an hour for, you know, overtime. So that's what this will do. Well, if it doesn't see it at this level, they'll go down to the next level. Okay, well, it doesn't see that project in labor class, then it goes down to the final level of labor class. We have 9 levels. Now, I have used 3 of them, which this is actually a very, you know, standard kind of setup that I've seen over the years. The reason I have spaces in between them, is, you know, over time, things change. You know, maybe you get a new project and you want it to sort by, you know, project, location, and then earnings type. Well, you know, obviously that would be something that you want to try to slide in between these two. So that's the reason I left the spaces, just to give you flexibility. Because once you actually do this and save it and use it, it's locked down and it can't really be changed again. So that's rate table definition. So once again, we started with our rate type definition, okay, which, as we can see, here's the rate type that I set up. This is the rate type that we're using, okay. And then we have the key definition, okay. So we have labor class as a key definition. We also have, you know, project as a key definition, okay. And then we also have earnings type as a key definition. So you see how you're kind of building this, you know, layer by layer, okay? So then after we've got the rate table defined, okay, then we move on to actually looking at the multi-level rate table. So when you come in here and you pull up, first you pull up the rate table ID, okay, we have 2 of them in there right now. And you can have as many rate table IDs as you like. You know, you try to, you know, keep them somewhat compact if at all possible, just to help the person that's actually creating the projects. You know, so, you know, everything is rather distinct, you know, so there's just no mistakes in that regard. So we have, you know, STD, which is our standard rate table. Well, inside our standard rate table, we have all the different rate types can be defined in that standard table. Well, I've chosen the one that I created. When you come in here, the first thing it does is go to the default level. Well, the default level is when it cannot find a proper billing rate. Okay, it couldn't find the project, labor class, earnings type. It couldn't find the project and the labor class. Couldn't even find the labor class. Although it's a valid labor class in your system, it's not a valid T&M billing labor class. Okay, so we always make a rather large number here. The reason for that is hopefully it doesn't get to this point. If it does get to this point, we need to make it stick out to where, you know, somebody's going to see it and we can go back and fix it. Either either correct the source documentation, you know, the time card, because somebody put the wrong labor class or something along those lines, or actually, you know, modify the multi-level rate table. Oh, we should have had this labor class in, you know, particularly for this job. So maybe you go back to labor class and project. So we can also come in here and look at some of the other ones that are defined. Put rates into these. So project labor class earnings type. So in here, you know, I have my T&M project, I have my labor class project manager, and I have my earnings type. Okay, so on overtime, any date after, on or after January 1st, 2016 is charged at 125. Regular time is charged at 75. This is very date sensitive. You could have, theoretically, a new rate on January 2nd, and every rate between January 1st and 2nd would be 125 for overtime. But everything on the 2nd would be whatever the new rate is. But typically, I mean, you know, a lot of times, you know, you have your own internal, you know, typical billing rates. And it's nice to be able to come in, you know, maybe once a year or whatever, anytime you reevaluate your billing rates, you come in here and say, okay, 1/1/2017, that's now $135 an hour for overtime. And the system will know. I mean, you can actually do this, you know, even before the end of the year, you know, do it in November, December, and on December 31st of 2016, it'll be 125. On January 1st of 2017, it'll be 135. So it's very, you know, very good and sensitive in that regard. Then let's just go ahead and quickly flip through the rest of these. Then I have project and labor class. So, you know, obviously I've used my same project again. There's my labor class of labor, and then my billing rate's $20. Then I just have labor class, which I have the labor at 20 and the program project manager at 45. So that is the multi-level rate table. That is what we went through all the different steps for, was to have a reservoir of billing rates that are built on a matrix by parameter or filter and by effective date. So it really is a very powerful tool, and that's one of the aspects that allow you to automate your billing based on your project cost detail. So the billing is now not really performed per se in the billing department. It's performed when the accounts payable clerk puts in an accounts payable invoice, or, you know, Johnny puts in his time and Bobby approves it. Once it's approved and it fits into the parameters, it is then immediately sent over into Flexible Billings, Invoice and Adjustment, waiting to be invoiced. And then the person running your billing simply selects the ones that are appropriate, but I will get to that in a moment. Okay, so after the multi-level rate table, let's go ahead and talk briefly about the allocation method setup. Okay, so this is an allocation method setup that was just fairly typical of a T&M setup. So what we're doing here is each, you know, the allocator itself, you know, I've always, you know, explained it like it's one multifaceted calculator. It literally does exactly what you tell it to do and how you tell it to do it. It doesn't do anything more, it doesn't do anything less. It does have various safeguards in there to make sure that the whole process can process, but outside of that, you know, it's a very elaborate, multifaceted calculator. So on this very first line, you know, what's the number one item in T&M? It's typically time. So we are going to look at our labor accounts. okay, our labor account categories. Also, just keep in mind, you notice that we're primarily talking about, account categories, not that, GL accounts aren't, associated, but in the project side, it's account category based with a GL account associated. So when we come in here, we have several different choices. So we're going to mark up our labor. We can calculate and post it. We can calculate and hold it. We can subtotal and hold and subtotal and post. These two are typically used for, more involved processes, say burden management or overhead management. So you're going to have several different lines that you subtotal together. But in this case, we're just interested in T&M, straight up markup for the labor. So begin account, end account is going to be labor. And then here's our rate type. Okay, this one is labor billing rates, or it could be that rate type. Okay, it can be any rate type in here. Obviously, you want one that's associated with labor billing rates. Okay, so go ahead and move along. Now, allocation rate. Okay, allocation rate is when you are wanting to do a percentage, or you are wanting to do, straight up units, such as right here we're doing units. Okay, you can take the amount times a percentage instead of a rate. So we could take this X out. Actually, a good example would actually be materials. Okay, if we took this X out and we simply said 1.15, okay, now it's going to be marked up 15%. Okay, so that's what the allocation rate does there when you're using amounts. You're using units, then it would be a multiple of whatever you put in there. Then we have, in this case, obviously labor, we're always dealing with units, and we're taking time the rate type. Okay, and then over here, we're giving it some additional instruction. What do we want it to do after it makes that calculation? Well, we want it to post back to the source project, that's what the S's stand for, and the source task. And then we want to also post just the billing amount. Okay, this is not necessarily the cost amount, this is the billing amount. We want it to post into the unbilled account category. And this is going to be an asset sitting on your balance sheet. Okay, we can do additional activities, as far as debit and crediting GL accounts, and there is call for that in quite a few different scenarios, but we're not going to go that route right this moment. Okay, and one of the things I also do typically is I try to keep all the detail, okay, every bit of the detail. That way, if you have billing issues, you can drill right down into the information and find out what the source transaction is. Okay, so I mean that's the allocation method. Like I said, I don't want to get too deep into it. I mean, there's just many different things you can do with this tool. It's a great tool. I really think it's a tool that really makes SL such the product that it is. It allows you to do many different things in a multitude of different environments, whether you be non-for-profit, wanting to allocate your overhead jobs back to your operative jobs. I mean, it can do many different things. So moving on from there, let's go ahead. Theoretically, we have run the allocation method, and we're going to take a very quick look at the billing rules. We'll come back to this, but for right now, I just want to preface where we're going next. Where we're going next is going to be the invoice and adjustment. And the invoice adjustment is going to be populated with the information that I've already created earlier today. And the reason it's going to be populated, waiting for me to bill it, is because of this top section right here. It's called the rules for billings transaction load. Okay, so the system knows anytime something comes into project transaction table and has unbilled as its account category, I need to bring it over into billings. So the system actually knows as soon as it sees that unbilled, okay, it brings it over into the system. When it brings it over, this is what we get. Okay, so when I came in here originally, all I did was I came in. I did not at that time have a draft. Okay, put in my start end date, and then hit display. These are the different elements that I created, a short time ago. Okay, so I do have some labor. Okay, I do have some material. Okay, being marked up at 15%. Okay, so this is what your person in charge of billing will see. Okay, and this is where they can select these items. Let's go ahead and select all of them, and they can write them up, write them down. Okay, I mean, if you want to write it up, say, well, actually we're going to charge the guy $550. Okay, and it will increase everything accordingly. Okay, now you're going to say, well, why is it a negative write-down amount? Well, bear with me here, but this is the theory. A write-down amount is an absolute value. So what I mean by that is if I put $100 in here, this now goes down to $380 because that's a positive write-down amount. So I'm positively writing that down. If I put this at $550, it's a negative $70. So I'm actually writing it up in the write-down amount column. I hope that makes sense. But that's basically what we're looking at there. So I'll go back to the 480, which is what it was. You can also put units on hold. You can come in here and say, hey, I am not interested in billing for this particular time, and you just deselect it. Okay, and you can go ahead and process this invoice, as is, post it and everything else. And next time you come in here, this line will be sitting here waiting for you, saying, hey, you didn't bill me the last time. I still need to be billed. It also gives you some information about the actual item that you're billing, telling you the project, the task, account category, who the employee was, okay, what their labor class was, okay, and some other information, company ID, GL subaccount. That's typically most of what you're going to get. So there. So once I come back here and I have everything marked, I can just come right in and just view the invoice. Some number here. Try that again. Okay. So in here, and once again, they don't call it flexible billing for nothing. This is just the standard out-of-the-box format. Myself and most everybody on our team have done many different types of formats when it comes to T&M. So this is just the base format. But as you can see, I mean, it gives you everything you need. It gives you your draft number, invoice. Once this becomes an invoice, it'll change from draft to invoice. Gives you your invoice date. If there's like project PO, contract, it's just going to absolutely break down all the pertinent items. In this particular format, it's got it by account category, but by description, direct labor is the labor account category. Gives you hours, rates, current amount. Okay, so this is, this can be a very, very quick monthly process. It also takes most of the potential, human error out of it, outside of, obviously your source documentation or processes being accurate. If your source processes are accurate, then your invoice is going to be accurate. So that is the automation, if you will, of the T&M process. Once you've actually printed it, and we'll now go back to the billing rules. All right. Now we can have this handled in a couple of different fashions as far as the billing rules. All right. You can have it done, as we mentioned earlier, you can have the revenue recognized at the time of service, aka at the time that the time card gets approved. That's what the system's concerning, time of service. We can have it do it that way, or we can do it in the more traditional fashion, which is, at the time of invoicing. My personal preference is, T&M, if I've worked it, I've earned it. But, so that is, this one is set up as at the time of invoicing, okay? And many, of the other fields that we can take advantage of are there in case we want to change that apparatus to a point of time of service. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and cover this and make sure, I've covered everything so far. We've talked about the, we've discussed component configuration, rate type, allocation key definition, allocation rate table definition. We've discussed the compilation of the multi-level rate table after you have those key components defined. We've gone through the allocation methods for T&M invoicing and discussed the different, factors of that. And we've also gone through the billing rules for T&M invoicing. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and move on to our fixed fee, AIA, percent complete contract, however you want to call it. Okay, we have in here, we're talking about the benefits of tracking of a detailed schedule of values within SL, quick entry and update of billing applications, calculation of retention, work in place, and stored material values, change order billing, printing a construction invoice, similar to the good old AIA G702, G703, as well as application reversals. So let's go ahead and walk through the different parts that I'm going to be discussing. We're primarily going to discuss the required information for the AIA application creation and printing, populating the schedule values, different methods, really only just a couple. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Establish billing rules to post invoicing, define and discuss billing rules or POC invoicing, and how it relates to revenue. Okay, so let's go ahead and head back to the demo environment. And what I'm going to do first is we're going to jump into the project maintenance screen again, and we're going to pull up the demo POC project. Okay, in here, there's a couple of things that are key, just as there were a couple of things key in the T&M project. So first things first, we obviously want to have fixed price in the contract type. Pardon me just a moment there. Okay, we have fixed price in the contract type. This is a key element here. Okay, we need to make sure that our revenue recognition type says percent complete. That's what's going to be pulling it into the custom WIP report and also, you know, kicks off the revenue recognition process. Budget by revision, and then the actual allocation of fixed price, that is completely optional. You know, some companies use allocation methods on their percent complete contract, some don't. So that's, you know, to your preference. Also in the billing information, once again, we have, you know, obviously your project bill with, and then you have your invoice format. Okay, so you want to make sure that you are selecting the invoice for AIA billing. And once again, as you can see, FP is going all the way through the system. So you want to make sure you select the FP billing rules. Okay, and then we have your retention method. You have either, you know, none or total, and the percentage that will carry over to your SOV and application. And once again, you know, billing cycle, billing type, and whether or not you require approval. So let's go ahead and jump right into construction billing. Construction billing, you know, as I think we all are aware, is not as convoluted and complicated as T&M can be. So I mean, this is a pretty straightforward process. Quite a few of my clients, you know, literally will build Excel spreadsheets and cut, copy, and paste their schedule values in. You know, there are, obviously you can do it manually. It doesn't take very long. I mean, you know, quite honestly, with the original schedule values, I mean, you're talking about filling in, you have to fill in the item number, description of work, task, and account category, and schedule value. So we're talking, it's a really pretty straightforward process. You know, it gets a little more involved when you're actually making the application, make sure that you're applying everything properly. So in here, the system will keep track of previously billed, the percent complete. Okay, work in place is obviously your amount you're asking for this particular application. Your stored materials, as you can see, the system brought over the 10%. Okay, it knows to retain 10%, and it will also publish that on the application as well. So just real quickly, I'm just going to jump in with just a couple of numbers here. Okay, and let's see here, I'll put 1,000 there. I'm just going to put 500 there. Okay, so in here, 500. In here, okay, so the system is calculating the retention for us. Okay, so we had 2,000 less the 10%. Okay, and it says retention date 200, less previous retention of 0, and retention amount. The system's actually calculating this and then subtracting that to give you this. So you know, the system knows, you know, how much you have and where you have it. So I'm going to go ahead and yeah, sorry about that. I had a little issue with that earlier. Okay, so here I'm going to just go ahead and say approve for print. I just want to show this briefly. I know we're starting to run a little short on time, so I just want to make sure everybody gets an opportunity to actually see this. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so just real briefly, okay, this is going to be, you know, part of what the system prints out for you. Okay, and it breaks it down just exactly how you broke it down. Scheduled values, work in place, stored materials, okay, and then it's going to have your retention here, okay. Then on the front page, obviously it has all your other information, your contract value, okay, and then balance to finish, and your current application amount. I just wanted to run that quickly, and I'm going to go ahead and jump over now more to the billing and posting and how that all sets up. Okay, and the posting for the percent complete, okay, very straightforward posting, the fact that it's 2 lines. In here, in the posting is where we use the secondary postings, okay? And let me jump very quickly to an item that I have here. Okay, so this is our fixed price revenue recognition setup. Okay, you know, it's just something that we keep handy. So in your billing, okay, the billing rules is doing this part. The revenue recognition is doing this part. Okay, so in the billing rule, obviously the debit goes to accounts receivable, credit goes to revenue, billed. Okay, then we have a credit for unbilled asset, okay, and we have a debit for revenue over and under. These two wash each other out until the revenue recognition process, which then credits the revenue over and under and debits the unbilled asset, where you end up with just the accounts receivable asset waiting to collect, and you have your revenue recognized. Okay, that's what the posting process is, and I'm trying to draw a distinction there, because revenue can be recognized, okay, even if there's no billings out there to be recognized, because the revenue is based on the percent of completion or actual cost for the project versus the cost budget. And whatever that percent is what it will apply to the revenue. So that is, you know, the crux of the AIA percent complete paradigm. Okay, so we've only got a little time left, and unfortunately I'm running a little bit over. I want to jump into the EAC Revision Maintenance. Okay, so in here, this is a project that I set up previously. In here is the EAC Revision Maintenance. This is a, you know, an SIS developed program. And what this does is it helps percent complete companies manage their costs, because that's the only thing they can manage. You know, the concept of earned value management is, you know, you are managing the one thing that you can manage, and that's the cost, because the contract is the contract. You signed a $100,000 contract, you know, obviously besides out of scope change orders, but the base contract is the base contract of $100,000. What can you manage? You can manage the costs. Okay, so in here, what we're looking at is I have set up the budget, okay, and we always use the term revised budget because that's the ultimate budget that you end up working on. Okay, so this is the revised budget. We have the EAC amounts, and then we have the actual amounts. Okay, so the system comes in and lets you know that, you know, we are looking at, you know, this much cost to complete. Okay, well, you can manage this in a couple of different ways. Do you want to change the cost to complete, or do you want to actually change the EAC amount? Okay, so the system allows you, if you will, to manage the percentage of changes. Okay, so if you know that, you know, labor was supposed to be, you know, 17% of your project and labor in its own category is off 20%, okay, that's costing you 3.4%. Okay, so that's what EVM's all about, and that's what the EAC revision is trying to assist you and your project managers in managing the actual costs on a fairly real-time basis, as real as when the data is available. So when you have your weekly meetings, or in some cases maybe monthly meetings, to review the overall project performance and viability, then you can have this and you'll understand exactly where everything's at in a very straightforward manner. A couple of other very quick benefits we have here is at the end of your project, okay, the system does have a set projected to actual. Okay, so say that you actually had a very successful project. It was $100,000. You had $60,000 cost budget, but you came in at $50,000 final cost. That's great. Well, you have to do something to get the system to acknowledge that your costs are final and that the budget needs to be changed accordingly, so the revenue recognition will fully recognize the revenue. One of the things that we have here is set project projected to actual. As you can see, it comes in here and now has a new revised amount. Okay, then I can go in here and actually post those updates into the SL system. Run revenue recognition. Now I have full revenue inside the system. No manual entries. No, headaches. Trying to match things up. The system now is, fully, contained, and your revenue is now on the books, and you can press forward. Now, I believe I am supposed to quit approximately at 2:45. Is that correct, Debbie? And can we have a couple minutes for questions?
Oh, absolutely. No, and it's till 3. We got time.
Oh, okay. Well, I went through that last part a little bit quickly. I mean, are there questions? Something you'd like me to go back over? Anyone?
Daniel, I'll go ahead and repeat some questions that we're getting in from the panel. Question we have is there a report that shows all the projects from a high level where EAC revisions need to be evaluated? I guess normally the end result of an EAC would be a budget revision, so maybe something to say that any budget revisions that haven't been processed for a month or something like that.
Budget revisions that haven't been processed for a month. I can't think of anything that's right out of the box on that. I mean, that's when it comes to budgeting, the out of the box reporting is somewhat limited because they really expect you to rely on this particular screen, which is your budget revision inquiry and analysis. Okay, so if I was to come in here and pull up the project that I've been working on, okay, and pull up my revision ID, okay, it really is depending on you, utilizing this, as if you're interested in, just looking at the budget, straight dollars and cents. After that, we also do have, a fairly standard, somewhat straightforward budget report down here, which I have budget report there. Okay, so we have original budget EAC variances. Okay, so I could come in here and let me just quickly grab my project. Why am I not seeing it? I don't know. I'll run it. Go again. Okay, so, once again, I mean, this is, an out-of-the-box kind of report. Pretty straightforward, really nothing more than a hard copy version of the EAC revision, budget revision inquiry screen. Dan, are you familiar with a report that would show you, last date and time?
I can't think of one off the top of my head, but it would. Each of the budget revisions has a period number, so we would probably want to get a list of the projects that are active projects in the system and compare.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a very
month. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be a fairly straightforward something that we could definitely build for you, but or even if there's something close and you like us to something modified or show you how to modify it. I mean we're all about sharing knowledge. So I mean, but yeah, I mean, if you mocked it up, we could either build it for you or assist your team in building it. Do we have anything else?
Next question. Does the EAC Revision Module come as an additional product upgrade to the base SL 2015 installation?
The EAC module is a part of what SIS calls Smart Move, which is also our Project Central. So yes, it is an additional add-on to the base SL 2015 system. With it,
you want to show the difference real quick? Show the difference real quick, Daniel. Bring up the EAC maintenance screen that comes with SL versus the SIS version. Kind of see the difference.
Sure. So you got the revision maintenance here, okay, which is the standard out of the box revision maintenance. This is what the EAC revision screen actually calls up, okay. So it's seamlessly integrated in with the SL system, and in here in Project Central. Okay, we've tried to put all the the touch points, if you will, in one place, so you don't have to go flipping from module to module. So in this case, we have project, we have budgets, we have purchase orders, we have subcontracts, project change orders, which are obviously going to be in like 3 or 4 different modules. Same thing with the different processes, the different inputs. Okay, so we're just trying to bring things down into one location. We also have our very own WIP report, okay? And this WIP report will give you, obviously, project-to-date information as well as year-to-date. Gives you your over and unders as well as tracks your retention. This is a very, very handy report. As anybody knows in the POC world, I mean, it gives you your year-to-date gross versus your project-to-date gross, your billings for project-to-date, year-to-date. I mean, it's got a lot of very, very nice tools. Also, we have in here, as far as reports, where was I? Oh, the EAC Revision History Report. I mean, I must have been, I forgot we had that. This might very well be what that person could probably use. Come on. It's going to probably be a fairly heavy-duty report. Oh, there we go. Okay. So in here, okay, we have, I only have one revision, but if I had multiple revisions, it would show my different revisions as progression or whatever the case may be. So that is, and we could tweak this and add dates and stuff for the individual that wanted a idea of when the last time something had been modified. Also in the Project Central, once again, you've got all of your key inquiries. You've got your project net profit, your transaction detail. Transaction detail inquiry happens to be my personal favorite. And it really gets down into the very finite line items that which, sometimes where you need to get to resolve something. Pardon me. We have AP by project as far as a report. So, I mean, there's a lot of very valuable things that exist in here.
Can you bring up the EAC Revision Maintenance screen one more time here?
Sure. I think I'm still got it up.
I wanted to point out, we also, for those of you who are interested in doing any period-based budgeting, we also have what we call a spread version of this screen. We don't have it loaded here for Daniel to show you, but most construction companies will do their budgeting just on the project level. What are my different budgets for this task or this project? But if you did want to have the ability to take let's say $100,000 budget line and spread it out over 6 months and evenly, break it up into 6 even components that add up to that $100,000, and then track kind of like a cash flow projection as to when you're going to be spending that money. There is a version of this screen that we have developed for contractors that want to track it at that level as well. We just don't have it here, but if you're interested in looking at that, please let us know. We can show that to you as well.
Anything else? Any other questions, Dan?
Yeah, we have one more question on T&M billings.
Yes.
What is the insurance that nothing falls through the cracks? In other words, something needs to be billed, and what guarantees that it's going to be billed?
Okay, good point. Okay, so in there, there's a couple of things. If it's a T&M project, okay, and you have associated the proper T&M allocation method, if you have in the allocation method, you only have, say, materials, labor, let's say per diem, and other. And then you end up getting a rental equipment invoice, and you charge it to rental equipment. That is a part of the project administrator job to review things as they come in and understand where they lie. And I would tend to say, and I don't mean to generalize too much, that's fairly unusual that something like that would happen. Only because, it might happen on maybe a small project that somebody slapped together. But if you're talking, $50,000, $100,000, $500,000 project, the budget tends to be pretty tight, and therefore, the markups, are gone over in great detail, and stuff along those lines. So flat out missing an account category straight up, not likely to happen, but it very well could, and it would be dependent on, primarily the project administrator, project manager to pick up on that, because I'm not sure the biller would be able to. As far as, say, labor being not being captured properly, that's one of the things that we had set up in our multi-level rate table. Okay, so if for whatever reason it doesn't find anything in this hierarchy, okay, it'll go to default. And when the biller goes to run the bills and sees 10 hours at $999,999, that will throw up a flag. And once again, you might have to go back and do a time card correction because maybe he didn't even belong on that particular job, or the labor class was classified incorrectly, or he did belong on the job and that is a valid labor class and needs to be added to the multi-level rate table in one of these 3 different areas. Okay, say let's just say project labor class, but you need to put that project back in there and put a new labor class in. Okay, and then put the billing rate. So, those are really the only 2 scenarios I can think of, and when a cost, if you will, does not get billed out.
Okay. I think we have time for about one more question here, and then we're going to get going. Is there any way to stop T&M billings automatically when it reaches a contract not to exceed amount?
Yes, there is. Well, it doesn't stop. Well, let me back up a second. It doesn't stop the T&M, and it doesn't stop the allocation. What it does do is it then puts it into an offset account. Okay. It does not, go on to the bill. Pardon me. Hold on a second. Let me jump over here. I don't want to get too deep into this because it's somewhat involved, but we do have bill to maximum. Okay. So in here, this is how you set up your NTEs, your not to exceeds. Okay. It will not go into your revenue. Okay, because it's going to go into your over and under. Okay, I'm not sure if they've modified it. I must admit it's been a couple of years since I've set one of these up. Dan, have they modified the billing on the actual invoice and adjustment screen yet in 2015? Do you know?
Not that I know of.
Okay, so you do have to actually remove that, but you can get a report that which will tell you you're $5,000 over your $100,000 NTE, but it can be set up, and we can train you on how to use it and what to look for. Anything else?
Nope, I think that's it.
Okay, well, we also wanted to go over the SL User Conference. Dan?
Well, coming up this fall in September, if you haven't heard from the user group community, we'd like to make sure you know that there is an exciting annual user group conference geared specifically just for Dynamics SL. It'll be in Tampa, September 12th through 15th. This year is the first year. It's going to be 3 full days. This conference keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. It's a lot of fun and very, very educational. And there are, so far, last year I think we had over 400 attendees come, and it grows and grows each year. So you get a chance to spend 3 days with your peers talking about Dynamics SL and viewing new things that are coming out from Microsoft, and also the ISV partners and all the add-ons that are available. So if you want to get $30 off your registration, please register for the conference at the dslugconference.com address you see on the slide here, and put in that code. Go ahead and write it down right now, DSLUG17SIS customer 30, and put that in. You'll save $30. So we hope to see you all there. And thank you very much for attending our SIS Education Series conference today. And again, we look forward to seeing you on the next one. There are 2 coming up in May. Thank you very much. And we're going to go ahead and stop the conference now. Daniel, nice, very good job. If you have any other questions, please contact Debbie, or you can contact our customer care at support@sisn.com. Thank you.